Hi and welcome. Thank you so much for checking out my channel today. My name is Tanny. I'm an independent author and somebody who just really loves great stories. So on this channel, I talk about writing, books I've enjoyed, and lessons I've learned on my publishing journey. Today, I want to talk about something that I think is really important, and that has to do with the accessibility of self-publishing. I know that times are tough for a lot of people right now, and as creatives, oftentimes it is hard to make money off of our work, and it's especially hard to invest money in something when you're not necessarily sure that it will pay off financially until later on. When I first started self-publishing, I really did not have any money to put into it. I had just gone back to college. My husband was working his butt off trying to provide for us. I had 2 little kids at home and I was not working at the time because I was focusing on just getting through school. And I knew that I wanted to publish my books, but all of the expenses that can be involved were just not something that I really had the means for at the time. I was able to figure out a way to publish my books in a way that felt good and felt like I was putting out the best work that I possibly could. And as the years have gone on, I feel like I've gotten a pretty good sense of how to self-publish my books in a way that's financially feasible for me and without cutting any corners when it comes to making sure that you put a quality product out there. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about ways to cut costs in self-publishing without cutting corners. I will say that a lot of these ideas that I'm going to be sharing are going to cost you in time rather than money. And I know that a lot of us are short on time as well. But at least for me, in some cases, it is a little easier to find the time to invest rather than having to come up with the money. So I'm just going to share some ideas. So my first tip is to really take the time to learn the craft and write a lot before you publish anything. I have seen cases where I feel like people are rushing to get their books out there and get their books published when they haven't really taken the time to build that foundation and really learn the craft of writing and learn how to create a good story and really hone their writing skills. And then the book that they're putting out there is maybe not the best that it could be. I've also seen cases, and I definitely did this to some extent with my first book, where I didn't really take the time to learn the ins and outs of publishing, and I just kind of learned the very basics and then put the book up there. And I think that if I had really taken some more time to learn and understand the process, I could have put out a better product initially. It's hard to judge that because you don't know what you don't know, but I think if you can just be patient and really make sure that you're taking the time to seek out all the information that you can and just learning the writing process and what that looks like for you, because it is very different for everybody, but just take the time to learn that and really hone your craft before you even jump into publishing. The reason that I say that is partly just from a financial standpoint. It is going to be a lot easier to do it right the first time than to have to go back and fix things later, especially when it comes to things like editing and cover design. If you put out a book with covers that don't really fit the genre and then you have to go back and pay to fix that later, that's money that you didn't really need to spend. So just make sure that you're really taking the time to learn and understand all the different parts of the process and how you can set yourself up for success from the very beginning. My second tip is to make sure that you're getting a lot of feedback on your stories before you even consider paying for an edit. There are a ton of ways to get a lot of really good feedback for free, or I guess for an investment of your time instead of paying money. You want to make sure that you're finding really good critique partners and beta readers who will be honest about what needs to change in your manuscript. I have a whole video series on finding beta readers and critique partners and working with those people, making the most out of their feedback. So I'll go ahead and link that in the description and in the cards at the end. But this is going to be one of your most valuable sources of input as far as figuring out what's working with the story and what's not and how you can make it better. Some people will pay for a beta reader to go through their manuscript, or I guess a developmental editor. I don't think that you necessarily need to do that. I think a lot of the times you can exchange manuscripts with people for free where you give them feedback on their work and they give you feedback. You can also just put out an open call for beta readers and try to find people who are willing to work with you and read your story. Sometimes it does mean that you end up reading multiple manuscripts because you're trying to get a wider variety of beta readers. Honestly, I have found it really valuable to be a critique partner for other people and to offer feedback on their manuscripts. It really helps me understand what works with a story and what doesn't. Just being able to analyze other people's stories like that has helped me to go back to my own stories and analyze them similarly in order to figure out how to make the story better. So I guess my point is to like try not to think of that as that you're just giving your time away for free, but really think of it as like an investment in your writing craft and a chance to like support fellow authors in the community and build connections with people. Once you've had a few beta readers, like figure out who's working really well with your story and giving the kind of feedback that you need. And then, continue to try to build connections and relationships with those people. Over time, I have been able to build some really good connections in the author community, and I have a pretty good team of like people who consistently read my stories and offer me valuable feedback. It does take time to build those connections, but I think it's a very, very worthwhile investment of your time, so definitely do that. It also means that you are taking a lot of time and getting a lot of feedback to make your story better, and the cleaner and better that it is when you're ready to turn it into an editor, the fewer rounds of editing you are ultimately going to have to do because it is going to be a cleaner story, which means that it should be less expensive. The editing should be less expensive. My third tip is that if you can realistically learn to do something yourself and you're willing to put in the time and effort to learn that skill, go for it. It does take a lot of time and patience. You might mess up at first, but if you can really be observant and just take the time to like educate yourself, try to seek out multiple sources of information and like look at different processes of how other people have done these things, and I think you'll be off to a pretty good start that way. It might not be perfect, but it is a way to at least, maybe save some money on things like formatting, or in some cases even book cover design. I know that it's like really frowned upon in the indie author community to like advise people to make their own covers, and I'm not like advising everybody to do that. I will say that as somebody who makes their own covers, it's totally possible to do that. I think that you do need to like really focus on getting a lot of feedback on your book covers and really analyzing what book covers look like in your genre and what you should be like striving for, but it is doable. And then same thing as before with the editing stuff, even if you can just teach yourself some really good solid basic editing skills, that's going to go a long way to again being able to turn in a cleaner manuscript to your editor and saving some money that way. My fourth tip is to trade services with other writers. So this can be things like I talked about earlier, where you exchange manuscripts with another writer and then you both provide feedback to each other on your stories. But I have seen people trading other services as well, and this is something that I am looking into doing with like probably my next book. For example, maybe you can trade some beta reading for some character art, or you could trade some marketing graphics in exchange for someone to help you with your blurb. You really just want to make sure that the trade feels fair to all of the parties involved, and whenever possible I would advise you to like get that agreement in writing and make sure that everybody's on the same page with that. I actually recently found a Discord group where a lot of these services are exchanged. I can't remember the name of it, but I will pop it up on the screen and link it in the description. But it's basically just like a cooperative group of indie authors who have gotten together, and there's like channels for you to exchange services with other people if you're looking for that sort of thing. So definitely check that out. Again, I think this is a really great creative way that we can support each other in the indie author community. My fifth tip is a marketing thing, and that is to join in on like group promotions that you can find with other authors on social media. A lot of times we'll talk about things like newsletter swaps through service like StoryOrigin or BookFunnel or whatever, and I think that those can be helpful, but one thing that I recently have done, and this was my first time doing it, is that I joined in on like a big summer group promotion that a bunch of indie authors got together and did. The person organizing it did actually ask for like $5 from each of us, but like it's $5, and I'm sure that probably there are like some free opportunities out there as well. You can also just kind of start this on your own and like get a group of people that you know together and try to, organize something like this. And then basically what happens is that whenever the promotion is running, everybody discounts their books or makes them free and then kind of collectively shares about all of the books and the event on social media. media. People do like really fun creative posts for this one. Like there was one person who did a bunch of posts about if your book was a drink, what kind of drink would it be? Or somebody collected together like all the different types of LGBTQ representation in different stories and made a post about that. But just doing an event like that, having everybody share it around on their social media, it can be really helpful to like just get your book some more visibility and boost sales without having to spend a bunch of money on like ads or, you know, those big newsletter promotions that you see sometimes. If you want to get involved in something like that, I would recommend just, you know, following other authors in your genre and then sometimes like searching for online book fairs or anything like that. I just happened to like be following another author who had posted about this event coming up, and so I was able to join in that way. I hope those tips were helpful. One of the things I love most about self-publishing is that it is so accessible and it gives people an opportunity to share their story and their voice without the gatekeeping of a traditional publisher. And I think that that's really important. I want self-publishing to be more accessible to everybody. I want people to be able to put their stories out there without feeling like they absolutely have to invest a ton of money up front. If you guys have any questions about this or comments or other ideas, please go ahead and comment down below. Hit the like button, please. That really helps this video gain more traction and so that other people can learn from these ideas too, hopefully. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell if you want to see more of my videos in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.